You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live.
Hello and welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is John Townley and I'm joined by Aston Villa club correspondent Ashley Preece to look ahead to the club's trip to the London Stadium to face West Ham on Sunday, 2 p.m. kickoff. Ash, are you okay?
Yeah, fine. I made it to Bodymoor Heath and back, which was good. I've got a drive that's like that. So at the start of the day, I was like, oh dear, here we go. I was outside with my shovel. I was like, But then all of a sudden the sun come out and all was well. So got there fine, and I think there's an hour delay to the presser. I think Emery had the players out a bit later when it went sunny. Snow was all melted. I think a bit more work in the afternoon. So it was made to wait, and it's worth the wait in the end, John, given the news about Diego Carlos could be involved. So, back from the presser. And, all eyes lead to Sunday now. Yeah,
obviously playing a West Ham team who I think it's 1 point out of the bottom three, I think. I don't think they're in it just yet. Hopefully after the weekend they will be. Obviously they're struggling, but we know also Villa are good away from home. So, if you were a betting man, I suppose you'd put your money on Villa. I presume it's a good opportunity to make it. That would be, I think, would that make it 5 or 6 wins out of 7? We've won 4 actually. So 5 wins out of 6, I think it would be. Yeah, good opportunity, Ash.
Yeah, spot on, mate. I mean, West Ham's home form isn't great anyway. They played in Europe last night as well. So they're coming into this one off the back of a 4-0 hammering against Brighton last week as well. So, it's a real chance to try and end our hoodoo against West Ham. Don't beat them, do we? Haven't beat them in a long time. I think away from home it was 2011, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Long time ago now. So I didn't beat them in 9 games either, home and away. Hopefully we get the result Sunday, but this Boubacar Kamara injury is going to be massive, I think, especially with Dendoncker as well being a doubt. So, they're there for the taking, but it's just midfield area for me with Villa. Knowing Rice is in form, Souček's a big, powerful presence who's caused us problems before from set pieces and stuff. So it's whether Villa can handle not having Kamara available is the big question, and one we'll look at on Sunday. But good chance to go there and get 3 points for sure, John, especially given Villa's away form. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, they have scored, I think it's 7 goals in the last 3 at home, West Ham. But as you say, that over the course of the season, though, the London Stadium, it can be I suppose, quite a toxic place at the best of times. So Villa can go there knowing that, as you say, with a bit of confidence that we've played away from home, played well away from home under Emery. We've got everything to win the game, but just say I think it's the midfield that's the main sort of concern. We'll move on to the press of what was said in this afternoon's press conference.
Yep.
With Unai. I mean, I think most of it was, at least in the broadcast section, was Moyes, West Ham. Obviously, there's a sort of talking points leading into the game. Villa, at least from the outside, there's not a lot to sort of report on it if you're a national or whatever it may be. But one of the sort of, I suppose, bits from his press conference that are more so newsy would be he was asked about European qualification. He sort of batted it away, didn't he? Saying that it's not like the priority at the moment, but at the same time, I suppose it's not too much of an angle because Villa are only 5 points from 7th. But he did say that we can still achieve that if we get the results that could take us there. There's 13 games left to play this season, so
exactly
all to play for, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. We've got Bournemouth next week as well before the international break. And there's some winnable fixtures in there. You look at Forest at home, Fulham at home. That's what he said, basically. If we win enough games, we might be in and around the European qualification spots. But like I say, he's batted it away. It's a tough ask to do. This season for him is top 10 finish. He stayed away from the relegation battle. When he took over, he's done well in that sense. And now, can he break into that top 10? All eyes on the Chelsea-Leicester game tomorrow, 3:00. Hoping for a Leicester result there. And then Villa will have an extra incentive on Sunday to go and get results at West Ham, push them back in the top 10, heading into the Bournemouth game. So, nothing too much from the broadcast section into the written section, which I was in. He was asked about Emi Martinez's time wasting, given his 5 bookings in 10 games for exactly that. Got him on Ashley Young's contract situation. And what else came from it? Amy Buendia telling him to calm down a little bit at times, which we've heard before. But yeah, he wants Aston Villa to continue their away form and the momentum they've gathered away from home. And he wants to suss out this home form because he wasn't happy with last week, especially the second half against Palace. So it's just every day now, trying the pitches, nailing this game plan, making sure everyone's comfortable with it, even those coming into the 11, like Callum Chambers will be probably on Sunday. And it's just work, relentless. And yeah, they've got the next few games to do that before the end of the season. So yeah, it's just training, focus, nail this game plan and make sure, they find that winning formula.
Yeah, and as you say, Ash, the lines about Young and the Martinez antics, etc., they'll be live at, I think it's 10:30, the embargo, I think I'm right in saying. So you can read those on Birmingham Live. We won't touch them on this podcast because they're literally embargoed. So, yeah, how do you rate Villa's chances in Europe? I know we've just touched on it, but 5 points away from Fulham without Palhinha for the next couple of games. I know they missed him as well against, I think it was Brentford was the last game.
Yeah.
Brighton are flying, and you obviously got Chelsea above us too. Newcastle are dropping, so it's very sort of interchangeable. I can see that, but I just don't know if we're in that conversation yet. I think if we picked up, a win against Wolves, like Bailey in the last minute, and didn't slip up against Leicester, would be right in amongst it. Would be like a point or two perhaps separating us from the European positions. But I agree. I think it's probably just half. Well, we're like a third into the season when we changed Gerrard, so that was a bit sort of late, I suppose, to for our chances of doing that. And I think Kamara as well missing, potentially the next month, or we'll touch on in a minute, maybe a bit less than that. But yeah, how do you rate Villa's chances for Europe? I mean, I'm kind of in the camp of let's try and just get top 10 and then for next season, let's see where we are. Because even if we were to get top 7 this year, that's not a problem for next year. But I don't know if we're ready for it in terms of the squad as well.
I mean, yeah, they built up a gap now between those below them. 7 points is quite a healthy gap to have ahead of your Palaces and Wolves and people like that. So the gap's there in terms of looking behind them. So looking forward, they've got them all to play, haven't they, John? They've got Chelsea coming up. They've got Newcastle at home. They've got Brentford, Fulham back-to-back in April. So there's big chances there to get points off those above you, which will certainly help matters. So it's in their hands, really, if they want to go and kick on and show some form, go on a bit of a good run. They need to... Like last week's show, that they got a result at home. First clean sheet under Emery at home as well, which is good. So they need to go out and do it. Really, it's a good incentive for them to look up and chase down the pack. It's always better chasing, isn't it, than being chased? I've always said that. So they've got more to play as well. So yeah, good challenge for the group of players that, and I hope they can do it. But yeah, like you say, he's slim. Looking at the Premier League table now as it is, and given the form you like to Brentford are showing, and have Chelsea turned the corner? We don't know. We'll wait and see. So, go and chase them. Like you say, the season doesn't have to peter out just because you're wedged in mid-table. Far from it. Go and try and jump up a few places. Go and try and beat the 9th place finish from 2011. You know what I mean? Make it a memorable one. Make it a good finish. And I'm sure Emery will be hammering that into his players.
Yeah, I think that's the point. It's top 10, and that's what he's in his presser as well. He wants to kind of build the foundations of a team, and we'll get the top 6 when we're ready, or the top 7. We'll get that when we're ready to get it. It doesn't feel like we're quite ready yet, and everything that we have seen is just being positive. But there's there's still things to do, and there's still a summer window to come as well. So you say only positive news on that front. Injury update then from today's presser. We'll start with Kamara because that seems to be the sort of main headline, I suppose, from the press conference itself. News obviously came out, was it last week, that he was out for a month or around that time frame. But he seemed, I don't want to say optimistic, Emery, that's kind of putting words in his own mouth, but he seemed that way, at least in the broadcast section. I think he was asked, so is it a long-term injury? And he kind of said, we're going to check it basically, game by game, which is probably more encouraging than him just saying, yeah, it's going to be out for, up to 4 or 5 weeks, and we'll see how it goes. Because you've obviously got an international break as well coming up soon. So potentially more positive news on Kamara rather than a negative, a big negative, should we say, when he limped off and we were all kind of fearing the worst, that his season might be over.
Yeah, exactly. Like you say, I think the key line today, it's not too serious. And like you say, John, the international break coming up is a bit of a blessing, really. 2 weeks off there, give chance to Kamara to get back up to speed. And we could see him against Chelsea, given what the news we've seen. But it'll be a game-by-game basis, yeah. They'll assess him next week as well. So, yeah, it's a bit of a bonus in that sense. We've got this break coming up, so it's come at a good time. And like you say, I feared his season might be done given the way he fell over and he had to be carried off. He couldn't put no weight on his ankle. And it's a bit of a dodgy challenge as well, wasn't it? So you'd fear the worst at the time. But yeah, given what Emery said, he's on a week by week basis. Okay, he's out of tomorrow. I mean Sunday, but have a look again next week and got a break after that, and then April the 1st, Chelsea maybe that could be the one penciled in.
Yeah, and his replacement against Palace was obviously Callum Chambers because Dendoncker wasn't in the squad. I don't know if we're expecting him to be in the squad. I think he said that maybe there's a late fitness test or something on the Saturday. Was that the line, I think?
Yeah, they'll check him over tomorrow. I mean, it's called a domestic accident. I think he's done something at home with his hand. He's got a hand injury. He's not been able to train with the group, so he's doing one-to-one stuff at Bodymoor. He says tomorrow we will wait, but he will be a doubt, is what Emery said. Dendoncker. Leander had a domestic accident and he's progressing with us this week, but has not been involved in the normal training sessions. So it doesn't really look good, does it? Really, he hasn't been able to work on the shape, especially with that midfield area is so crucial. And with Chambers coming in last week and playing last half an hour alongside Douglas, some of the photos from training as well, you see Chambers and Douglas on the same team. I think he's pointed to Callum Chambers masterclass in there. But yeah, he's played that position before for Fulham, got player of the season there for Fulham. I think it's a perfect game for Chambers, really. Look who's in there with him, Souček, Rice, big lads. I think he can mix it with them. So it could be, as opposed to playing your Man City or something with intricate footballers just buzzing around you, I think this could be a game that suits Chambers. Yeah, so I'd be interested to see him on Sunday. I mean, he hasn't played too much football. So him in with a two with Douglas, yeah, we'll see what happens there. So, but yeah, Dendoncker, big doubt.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a shame because you kind of waited all this time to get back in the team, and he did impress under Emery at the start. And I think, well, Brentford, obviously Emery wasn't there, but he played well under Dank 4-0, and then the Man United game, Dendoncker was brilliant again. So that is a shame that we want to call on him, he's either injured or for whatever reason unavailable. And you mentioned Carlos at the start of the show, Ash. I think what's the update with that is maybe being in the squad perhaps for the first time in what will be like nearly 7 months, I think.
Yeah, he's a possibility for Sunday to include him in the squad, which is good news. So yeah, I think he'd be on the bench. I can't imagine him playing at all. To be honest, I think if it's an injury at the back, I think Chambers will probably slot in and someone will probably come in midfield. So yeah, I think he might be on the bench just as a bit of a boost for himself, really, a bit of a confidence booster. He's back before the international break, and yeah, I think he'd be in the squad on Sunday, back on the bench. It doesn't mean we have to have two keepers on the bench then. We can fill out a squad sheet as well for once in the Premier League. We'll fill out a 20-man squad sheet. So yeah, he'll be on the bench Sunday, and he'll get back in the groove of things. And yeah, we'll see him before the end of the season, I think, which is good.
Yeah, we'll go on to our predicted 11. Against Palace, it was Moreno, Buendia and Ramsey that were kind of in I call the kind of three positions that are sort of up for grabs at the moment. Obviously, Kamara, which is an issue. Do you expect, apart from obviously Kamara dropping out, say Chambers is probably going to slot into that role? I'd be surprised if Dendoncker comes in, given the comments Emery has made. I think the only change that I could see is... I don't know if I can see any changes, actually, apart from that one, because I think Moreno played well against Palace.
He did.
Buendia's lively. Can you see any changes? I don't think I can, apart from the obvious Chambers for Kamara.
Yeah, the left-back situation fascinates me, John, because obviously against Everton, we was all expecting Moreno to play going into that one. And then Luca Dean started away from home, a bit more defensively sturdy, Luca Dean. Whereas Moreno's great going forward, isn't he? He's a real thorn in Palace's side last week, Moreno. So I think maybe Dean might be trusted away from home against the more physical sides. Luca Dean. Moreno's quite small, isn't he? And getting used to the demands of the Premier League. I might see Luca Dean slot back in there, given his experience. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it's clear that the pair of them are sharing game time at the moment, but with Moreno preferred as the home left back and maybe Luca Dean away from home, they shore things up that way. And yeah, maybe Luca Dean, maybe a change at left back. Elsewhere, I think Ramsey just about keeps his place. Leon Bailey, he played him against Man City away, didn't he? Started him against Everton, did he? As well. Locked him away from home as well, Leon Bailey. I spoke to some Villa analysts at Man City, about Bailey and about the game plan. The game plan's always been when Bailey plays, to play on the counter attack and inject that little bit of pace on the break. And so I think, is Bailey doing enough to come back in? Probably not. I think it'd be Ramsey on the left and Buendia to partner Watkins. I think we'll go with that way. And yeah, I think maybe Luca Dean comes back in,
Yeah, to be fair, you've kind of won me over on that one. I think Dean probably will come back just because you say, you know what you're going to get from Dean. It's kind of like not necessarily all frills at the moment with him, but defensively sturdy, as you say, probably more so than Moreno. And that's not to suggest that Moreno isn't. It's just that we know that, or I say we almost don't know yet because he hasn't been tested. And again, I'm away from home. Is that the game to do it? Possibly not. I think that's probably one of the reasons why Emery wanted to buy Moreno in January rather than wait until the summer when he might be even a little bit cheaper potentially. Give him that 15 games or so to get used to the Premier League. We'll go on to predictions, Ash. I don't know. It's a difficult one. I think West Ham again, poor in a form, but a team that's scrapping for their life. 1 point out of relegation zone at the moment, and obviously they got the result against the team in Iron Apple. That's a great one. That's probably come at the right time for them, hasn't it? Obviously getting whooped by Brighton. They did beat Forest 4-0, to be fair, as well, at home. But that was a bit of context would be, the 4 goals came at the end of the game. Forest have got like the worst away record, I think, in the league. So, and we've obviously got one of the best at the moment, especially under Emery. I think I'll probably get Desmond though. 2-2, I think is what I'd put down. Don't get me wrong, Villa can win the game, but I don't know. I don't think we're gonna, we can't win every game away from them, can we? From now until the end of the season, I mean, we can, but it's obviously Villa aren't going to do that. So yeah, I think I'll go 2-2. 2-2.
Bit of chaos on the road for Emery. Emery will be pulling his hair out, John.
He will.
He will be, mate. Telling you. Danny Ings is going to score, isn't he?
Oh yeah, of course he will. At least once.
He's got 5 goals in 7 games against Villa. Not a bad record, old Ingsy. He'll come back to haunt us. He was rested last night. I've seen that. So he didn't come off the bench last night in Europe. So Moyes keeping him fresh for Sunday. I'll probably go 1-1. I'll probably go 1-1. Draw on the road for Villa. Take the point back to Brom. Tough game, isn't it, West Ham? Never beat them. Bogey team.
Yeah, it has been.
So, yeah, difficult game for Villa, especially with that Kamara. With that Kamara in there, who's so important, as we know. So, yeah, Villa to lead, and then Danny Ings to nick one, obviously. So, 1-1.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most classic Villa thing that could happen. I mean, I'd take a point, I suppose. In this run of games, if you can get what you can away from them, and then at home you've got Forest coming up, Bournemouth as well. So you win your home games, get what you can on the road. Even though West Ham aren't doing great, those teams at the bottom of the league will start to pick up points now, won't they? Because they're so far away from 40 points. It's going to happen. Hopefully we're not going to be caught out by that, and we can take all 3 points from the London Stadium. That will just about do us for today, Ash. We'll be back for a post-match on Sunday night. I think Dan and Matt will be back in the seat for that. And yeah, we'll be back in the midweek as well for some more shows. Thanks everyone for watching the preview, and please leave a like, rating and subscribe. And yeah, hopefully we'll be having or talking about another 3 points on Sunday night. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue and Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your thoughts and comments. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.